and customers are supposed then to buy electricity, the electricity that we produce.
Yes.
So that we maintain keeping the lights on.
Yes.
Now, in between the two,
Yeah.
we experience consumers, not customers.
Oh, okay.
When I say consumers,
Yeah, let's try to simplify this.
Yes. When I say consumers,
Yeah.
it's because this particular group will not be buying electricity.
They use without payment.
Yes,
So they are
they
not
just
customers
consume.
anymore. Yeah.
They're not customers.
Okay. So it's like rocking up in some restaurants and go like, I want like this chicken and what that, and then you eat and say thank you very much.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was the good example.
Yeah.
And and I believe there's no restaurant that can allow that.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Emmanuel Mushala and welcome to, I think this is the first episode of Social Talk. I've been on Social Live for a couple of times, and 2023 we're restarting again Social Talk. Today, starting the conversation, I have a guest from Eskom, yes, and we are going to talk about some parts of that we struggle with in terms of the electricity supply, and mainly I think also focusing on what is our responsibility? What do we need to do to make sure that our township, our areas are functional and this equipment is always operational? Ntombi Hlophe this today, and we're going to have a little chat on what she does and what education can she give us today in terms of the work that she does. Sis Ntombi, sawubona.
Sawubona bhuti wami.
Ninjani?
Ngiyaphila njani?
No, I'm good.
Yes.
I'm good. Okay, tell us, who is Ntombi Hlophe and what do you do?
Thank you very much. I work for Eskom. I'm a proud Eskomite.
Okay.
I work for Eskom Gauteng.
You say this as if you are separated from the rest of us, but yeah. Yeah, no,
I work
understand.
for Eskom Gauteng cluster because we
Okay.
are divided according to clusters.
Okay.
And I'm in the communication department.
All right.
Yes, and we are dealing with your internal and external communication.
Okay.
That also includes your customer education.
All right.
Yes, and the customer communication.
All right.
We on that angle we mostly give a service to our one of our departments internally, which is customer services, where we intensify education to the
all
customers.
right. I think that's the part that touched me the most. The part customer education.
Yes.
You know, because we generally know, I think based on the township, that we know Eskom for one thing, which is switching on the lights and switching them off. But in terms of Eskom coming and educating, I don't think I've heard that much. Like there's an event, Eskom is going to teach us about how to handle the infrastructure, how to, I don't know that. Well, I must blame myself probably because of I don't watch TV. I haven't been watching TV for probably the past 15 years. Maybe you have those shows on TV. I don't know. But what does the education part entails, Eskom?
We're actually doing a lot in terms of customer education, because my department develops the content. We are divided into 3 sections.
Okay.
And the other section focus internal in terms of the communication that goes to internal, because before empowering our customers, we need to start with our own employees, understand our product and take care of everything that has to do with our product. Because as much as it is user friendly, but it is dangerous. Now we first start empowering internal. That's the first leg of the internal team. Then we've got the media and stakeholder management team. We mostly focusing on external. Yes, proactively and reactively. Then we've got this leg of customer communication that I'm part of. We develop the content.
Okay.
Proactively, so we check seasonal communication. What is there in that season, and proactively communicate and proactively prepare the content also for customer services. Then we also, within the customer communication, have the public safety leg, where now we're talking about electricity safety. Now, as much as we will develop the content for our colleagues in the customer services space, who will go to your schools, your crèches, to the public at large, then we also then do prepare content for social media. We do radio interviews, where now proactively we educate. Because on a monthly basis, we do have a target to say these are the radio stations that we are doing in Gauteng. As much as the team then on the ground from the side of customer services, they then go and do awareness campaigns in the various types of communities.
Yeah, but today there's a reason that we called you. I wanted to talk about the infrastructure per se. I mean, I know in our area, and I think it goes for the rest of Soweto and other township, where there has been a problem of damage to the infrastructure. I don't know whether I could call it an overloading of infrastructure or whatever the case is. But in terms of, from your perspective, I had some questions here that I wanted to probably start up with and make sure that we get the other things right. Maybe if we can start by defining the terms, an equipment or equipment failure, the overloading, or the energy losses.
Yes.
What are those?
Thank you for that. That's one of my favorite topics to talk about.
Yeah.
Because when an equipment fails, as customers, we expect that Eskom should just replace, number one.
Yes.
And we don't know we don't know in the background what happens and what causes the equipment to fail.
Yes.
And you also touch losses, of which there is an integration between those.
Yeah.
Let me start with the losses before I talk to the equipment failure.
Okay.
The losses happens when, as Eskom, we generate electricity. We are expected to keep the lights burning.
Yeah.
And now, on the other hand, we've got customers, right? And customers are supposed then to buy electricity, the electricity that we produce.
Yes.
So that we maintain keeping the lights on.
Yes.
Now, in between the two, we experience consumers, not customers.
Oh, okay.
When I say consumers,
let's try to simplify this.
Yes. When I say consumers, it's because this particular group will not be buying electricity.
They use without payment.
Yes,
so
they just consume.
They're
not customers.
Okay. So it's like rocking up in some restaurants and go like, I want like this chicken and what that, and then you eat and say thank you very much.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was a good example.
Yeah.
And and I believe there's no restaurant that can allow that.
Yeah.
Because now, in preparing that menu, they need money.
Yeah.
They need to buy the ingredients. And then there are employees who are preparing the meal, right?
Yeah.
And they need to get paid.
Yeah.
Same applies
and they
to
also
us.
use Eskom electricity to prepare the meal.
Exactly.
Okay.
Same applies to us. You know, we need resources. We need manpower to keep the lights burning.
Yeah.
And all those needs money.
Yeah.
Now we cannot afford to keep on producing electricity, and on the right hand, we don't get the customer that pays for that electricity. Because once a customer becomes a consumer, it means we are not getting revenue as Eskom. That's when now we end up having losses.
Okay.
And we've got technical losses and non-technical losses.
Okay.
And
what's the difference between those?
Yes, the difference between the two, the technical losses, it will be, let's say, the challenges that we have in the network. Okay. That are not as a result of, let's say, a non-payment or non-buying. And then our teams will have to go and find out what's the issue, and then resolve it. Okay. And then the non-technical, it's the ones now whereby people are consuming and are not paying for electricity. Yeah. And then there is no balance. Yeah. Such that when we evaluate, it is unfortunately that across Gauteng, you know, in our different areas, the percentage of losses is very high. Okay. We've got feeders, mainly from our substations. All right. And they then they transmit electricity to your substations in the townships or transformers. Right. Yeah. And okay, for instance, we are in Soweto, we can say we've got Muroka, a sub. In Tsakane, we've got your Jim Vining. In Davidson, we've got your Kunene sub. Yeah. Your substations is the ones that you will see, let's say, at the entry point of a township. You see this Eskom building with structures. Yeah. And transformers. And it has got lines that are then going to the townships. Yes. And then furthermore, you will then see the transformers or the mini subs. People in the townships call them gas power. Okay. Now, if the losses start there at the feeders, because now the feeders will be supplying electricity to the different sections. Yeah. And now, if about 5 sections the people are not buying, then we evaluate the losses there. We say there's a lot of losses, and obvious people, if they are not buying, they are not taking care. Yeah. Meaning they tell us, they say, we just consume. Yeah. And they end up not striking the balance. Yeah. That's actually something interesting. Yes. And if they're not striking the balance, we end up experiencing overloading on the network. And once we experience overloading on the network, that leads to equipment failing. And the equipment actually at times start to fail from the substation. Okay. Because usually in the substation, we've got, let's say, about 3 transformers. Yeah. Big transformers. We normally say transformer 1, 2, 3. And usually we don't allow each transformer to take load to its maximum. Okay. To the different type of sections. Yeah. We allow, let's say, in each transformer to have, let's say, about 30% reserve or 20 or so in case of the worst scenarios. Yeah. Now, when the behavior on this side of customers is not good, then it leads to a strain in one of the transformers of the 3. Yeah. And you'll end up having maybe 1 transformer failing. If 1 big transformer is out, we then need to take the entire load that usually caters for all the customers feeding in this transformer, and then route it and share it to the 2. Okay. Once we do that, meanwhile, let's say we're doing the repairs on transformer number 3. During peak hours, people are consuming more. Yeah. And the consumers, it's worse, if not customers.
Yeah.
In Zulu, we say, yeah.
Yeah.
And then now, these two will start now, experiencing a strain because it is not designed to cater for the exactly.
Right.
And then we'll end up saying, oh my goodness, we need perhaps to start to do something. Meanwhile, this transformer is busy with the repairs. And we then start requesting people maybe to reduce the load consumption. And now moving from the from the substation going to the mini subs now. The mini subs, you find them in the middle of the streets in the township, or even the transformers, which is top pole boxes.
Okay.
And it depends if the customers are connected to the underground network or to the sub or to the top pole mounted transformers. Each and every transformer has a number of customers feeding there, and it's different size of transformers
for different number and different needs.
Exactly. It can be a 100 kV transformer, and you find that maybe it's about 80 customers feeding there. But amongst the 80, because there is what we do, electricity audit, to check when there is a challenge. And audit, that's where we check the behavior and the buying history. You find that out of 88 customers, only 8, the rest of the 80 are not buying electricity. And obviously there's no balance.
Is that the real stats?
Yes, it's whenever we do electricity audits, believe me, we find that the losses in that particular transformer, it's up to 80% or even 90%.
90 out of every 100 are not paid.
Yes.
Only 10.
Now we cannot survive.
10 is catering.
Exactly. We cannot survive on only 10% of customers paying or buying electricity. You understand? And obviously there are a lot of contributing factors amongst those 90% or 80%.
80%,
It depends on the situation. Others are even maybe having their businesses in the houses. We know, for example, the back dwellers. And we have found out that some of the people are doing their small businesses, but they're just consuming. And then it put a strain on a network, because a normal household, will have let's say a 60 amp meter, size of a meter, and we'll also balance on our side. We call it energy balancing. We balance what the customer needs and what with that particular transformer cater. Now, if that particular customer or a number of customers are consuming more than what the transformer can handle, there won't be a balance. Because, for instance, at times, if your needs changes as a customer, now from an ordinary household to a small business or whatsoever, you need to upgrade with us. When you upgrade, we then also from our side need to upgrade. For instance, earlier on I said there are different sizes of transformers. And if our transformer was, for instance, 100 kV for that particular group of customers, and we've got individuals who upgraded their needs, we then need to replace it with 200 kV.
Okay, let's back down here, because there's some interesting things that I would want to get into. Your transformers are rated for a certain consumption of so many houses. Now, for instance, now we have a development in a township where people are building little flats for accommodation. People are expanding. They're building double stories, and I would assume that upgrading your house to a double size of what it was before now requires, when it requires more energy, people must actually come and apply with you and say, now I'm going to need more than 60 amps to run my house. I need around 100 amps to be able to do what. Is that what needs to happen?
Exactly.
Okay, but is that what is happening?
In some instances, customers do come and upgrade, but some don't at all.
Okay.
And unfortunately, by law, we cannot go to you and say, "Come, upgrade." We can't do that.
Yeah.
You understand? But the meantime, you as a customer, you're not coming forth to us as Eskom, then there is a strain because there is no balance on the network.
You don't know about it. You're still supplying whatever that you rated the area to be requiring, whereas the area is consuming far more than what it's supposed to be. Okay, I get that part. And the reason I'm asking those questions is there's a concept of stepping into somebody's shoes. And when we are angry, especially us, or I think it's a human thing that when we are angry, the only part that we think of is our issues and the resolving of our issues. But I invited you today so that most honestly that we can get on issues from Eskom side to say what is it that you are struggling with and what is causing you to find yourself in a situation that you are in.
There's one thing I would like to emphasize because our needs are different.
Okay.
Me and you can be in the business space in the township, but different types of businesses.
Yeah.
Do you understand? And our energy demand will also be different.
Okay.
Now, what you need to do as a customer, you need to get your electrician, come to you, do a needs analysis in your business or in your house if everything has changed.
Yeah.
And then that qualified electrician who's got an COC will then advise you to say, okay, this is how much you need to go and apply for in Eskom.
Okay. Yeah.
And as I've made an example with me and you, our quotations will then be different because our needs are different.
Yeah.
You might be needing a 3-phase. I might be having maybe a 20 amp and now need a 60 amp as an example.
Yeah.
You understand? And the prices will then differ. Hence, and we've got another department in the background that do network designing. Then we will then go and say, okay, with the current network that we have, the needs are changing and the demand from the customers. We've got this number of customers that apply. Please maybe redesign. Look, they will do that work for us, and then we start again internally, and then an upgrade accordingly, and balance everything according to the needs of the customers. But if proactively the customers are not doing that, there is no way. What would quantify us to then redesign?
I hear you.
Yes, hence we need that balance. Exactly.
You wouldn't know.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay.